Okay, here we go. Love my guts. It's Dr. Greg. Yeah, I'm excited to do this one. Gut health is so pertinent, especially right now with everything going on with people, heading into the fall, people wanting to boost their immune system. Things like immune disorders, seasonal affective disorder, mood, those things all start to change this time of year. And making sure that your gut is healthy is going to be critical to making sure that we're doing the best that we can for our overall health. So let's just kind of go through where we're at today as a country. I'll make sure I can switch the slide here. There we go. Okay. So where we are today, I just want to go through a few stats. I'm not a big stats guy. Some of you are, but this was interesting. One study showed that 74% of people in America are living with some kind of gastrointestinal issue, such as bloating, abdominal pain, and diarrhea. So 74%, like that's 3/4 of people. So how pertinent is that? The highest statistic I would always see as a chiropractor is that 80% of people deal with some kind of low back pain throughout the year, and this is right up there. As many of us know, 655,000 people die of heart disease. I'm going to be talking about how heart disease and high blood pressure, hypertension are correlated to the gut. Cancer is responsible for 1 in 6 deaths in America today. 1 in 10 Americans have diabetes. Like I was saying, depression, anxiety are prevalent. And, on a more somber note, suicides, especially with everything going on with the lockdowns and all the restrictions and the change in culture, they're at an all-time high. We're headed down this destructive path, so something needs to change. And Hippocrates, who's known as the father of modern medicine, said that all disease begins in the gut. So this is where we have to start. Now, as a chiropractor, and if you've been around for a while, I always say we have to start with your nervous system, and that's true. But you can think of it as your gut and your nervous system are the 2 brains of your body. And when they're not functioning well, it's going to lead to disease process and symptoms. And this list here, this just shows some of the major disease process and conditions that can accompany long-term gut issues. So like autoimmune diseases such as allergies, asthma in children, we look at the gut. Eczema in children is a big one. Cognitive decline, things like Alzheimer's disease, depression, cancer, fatigue and joint pain, mood disorders, again, paired with that, learning disabilities, especially in children, infertility, pregnancy complications. So there's a lot of things that are correlated here. But I want to go into this is that I was talking with a functional nutritionist recently, and we were talking about the talk that I had coming up. And she was kind of half joking, like, should I get on this call? And I was like, well, you're going to know a lot of this stuff. Some of it can seem a little basic as I was talking about the anatomy that I was going over. She's like, no, don't discount that. She said that she had clients where they just believed that your stomach cavity was like this hollow cavity where food just dropped into. And I was like, wait, what? Like, people think that? I mean, I guess that would be the equivalent of me if someone was talking about finances, or like a mechanic was trying to explain everything going on in my car. I'd be like staring off like this, like I wouldn't know. So we're all in different phases or stages of our knowledge of anatomy, but I just want to go through. I don't want to patronize anyone, but what I want to get at here is that your digestive system is much more than just a hollow tube. There's a lot of moving parts going on. You see at the top of the screen here, it shows the food obviously coming in your mouth. You have salivary glands that obviously lubricate mastication or chewing, but that actually also contains enzymes. So salivary amylase helps to break down carbohydrates even while you're chewing food. The food obviously then travels down through your esophagus into your stomach, which secretes acid to start to break down the food. The stomach also mechanically moves and churns just to mix up the food and to aid in the digestive process. It then drains into what's called the duodenum, or the start of the small intestine. That's a critical area, the small intestine. Doesn't get talked about enough, and I'm going to be really focusing on that tonight. We hear a lot about the stomach with reflux and heartburn. You hear a lot about the large intestine, things like diverticulitis or Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, things of that nature. But in the duodenum, there's critical area there. That's where the pancreatic duct is located. Also, the gallbladder or the bile duct is also located. So you have bile, which helps to break down fat, is released from your liver into your gallbladder and then squeezed out in the duodenum. You then have the pancreatic enzymes that break down proteins. So a couple of the enzymes, one is called aminopeptidase, trypsin, or just a couple of them. Those are essential. And we've all heard of digestive enzymes, how important they are. You actually make your own pancreatic enzymes in your pancreas. As that food is broken down, it moves through the small intestine where nutrients are absorbed into the body, into the large intestine where water is reabsorbed. The food is basically dehydrated. Fermentation starts to occur, and you see a lot of, obviously, the bacteria or the microbiome will also be assisting in not only breaking down food, but even helping to produce different vitamins, such as the absorption of vitamin B12, which is so critically important, especially as you get older, for your nervous system and your cognitive health. Also vitamin K, which is a fat-soluble vitamin as well. So talking about absorption, and this is so key, is that yes, you are what you eat, but you're not just what you eat. You're what your body digests and absorbs and assimilates. So you can be eating, and many of you are, you're eating the best food in the world, right? You're eating grass-fed beef, organic chicken, organic spinach. You know, look at these wonderful foods on this slide. It's making me hungry because I haven't eaten in a while. It's past my dinner time. The olive oils and everything like that. You're eating all that good stuff. But if your digestive tract is not absorbing it, you're not going to be reaping the benefits of all that amazing food. So yes, it's important to fix your food and what's going in, the fuel, but we also have to look at the engine, right? So you have the fuel going in the car, but we also want to make sure that the engine is firing right, and that would be the digestive system. So we want to look at what we call structure and function. So focusing on function today, there's the structure of your digestive tract, which I went over. We're going to be talking about the function now. Okay, let's talk about the microbiome. This is also critically important. Heard a lot of this. We were just playing an entire documentary in the office for the last month on the gut bacteria and just the intimate relationship that your body has. So the old line of thinking 10 years ago, even before that, is that germs are bad. And kind of modern medicine, the modern world labeled all germs as bad. So you have the antibiotic craze and everything there, sterilization and, you know, hand sanitizers. It's like germs are the enemy. The problem with that approach is that it's discounting the good or the healthy germs. And I don't like those terms like good, bad, that kind of thing. I'll kind of dissect that a little bit. Is you need, if you didn't have these microorganisms, like, you get sick. You can't live, your body cannot live in a sterile environment. It can, you're just not going to do well, and you're going to deal with a lot of the symptoms that I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes here. But your body needs these bacteria. Did you know that 70% of your immune system is in your gut? 70%. And so much of your immune system are actually these good bacteria fighting the good fight for you. So when you're populating your gut with good types of bacteria, like good types of E. coli or Staphylococcus aureus and Bacillus subtilis or Bacteria subtilis, things like that, you're going to be populating your gut with the good bacteria, and that's going to ward off or fight off pathogens, because your gut, it's a warm, moist place for those bacteria to live, and you're giving them food. In turn, they're giving you protection. They're going to help you digest the food, create vitamins and certain minerals, and then also fight that fight for you, where they're going to be getting rid of a lot of the pathogens, the viruses, and things like that. So I want to get away from the term of good bacteria and bad bacteria. Bacteria will go in, and the types of bacteria that are favorable to your gut are when you're in a healthy state. Okay, that would be the good bacteria. Now, the bad bacteria over here, they're going to come in when your body's in an unhealthy state. So think of it like the dirty trash can and the clean trash can. So you have the clean trash can, that's your body in a healthy state. You're not going to see a lot of the raccoons and the crows and the critters and things like that, the cockroaches. They're going to live over in the dirty trash can. Why? Because they're attracted to that type of environment. Does that mean they're bad? No, they're not bad. They're there to clean up a mess. So when you have things like candida or yeast, or you have conditions called SIBO or small intestine bacterial overgrowth, every symptom is your body doing the right thing at the right time under the circumstances that you put it under. So your body's trying to work and do the right thing that it needs to do, but it can only work with what you give it. So this is where this is going to slide perfectly into your gut-brain connection, is that your brain and your gut are constantly talking back and forth. And you have, in this slide, I'll just read a couple things here. So your brain contains about 100 billion neurons, okay, which communicate with the body on its behaviors. Additionally, your gut contains about 500 million neurons. So the research that I'm citing now is saying that about half of the amount of neurons, but there's some research that suggests that you have as many or more neurons in your gut than you do your brain. So did you ever feel butterflies in your stomach? Did you ever have a gut feeling? My wife, she's big, she's very intuition based, and she always has gut feelings about things that we should also, always adhere to. And a lot of that is your gut. It's like, I had a gut feeling about this. I'm going to follow my gut on this. It's like, what does that mean? Is that your bacteria influence your mood? It influences your health, your brain health too. So here's an example. Gut bacteria manufacture about 95% of your body's supply of serotonin. So serotonin is known as your happy hormone. When you have misbalances in the production or reuptake of serotonin, so most of us have heard of SSRIs or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which are also known as anti-anxiety or antidepressant medications. They're working on the brain, which produces about 5% of the serotonin. When in reality, we need to look at the gut, which produces 95% of the serotonin. So if you're concerned for yourself or family members, loved ones with anxiety, depression, energy, mood, you got to look at the gut, because that critical hormone that we all need, 95% of it is made here in the gut, not here in the brain. So yes, it's important. We're going to talk about mental practices and, positive mental attitude and everything like that. That's important. But again, 95% of it, we're leaning over here. It's the food that we're eating, the toxins we're around, all these things that we're going to talk about. So critical. I don't want to repeat myself too much, but your gut and your immune system. Look at, for example, between October 31st and January 1st, I would argue, that's known as the holiday season. It's also known as cold and flu season. It's typically the time of year where people gain the most weight. They're in the worst shape of the year between Halloween and New Year's. It's also the same time where we're getting, on average, the least amount of sunlight, because the way that the earth tilts, it's at its lowest angle. So I believe it's, the winter solstice or whatever they call, that's where it kind of starts to tilt back. So you're getting the least amount of vitamin D. We're also inside, it's getting colder. We're turning the furnace on. There's bacteria and viruses all flowing around. But the biggest thing is that the average person between October 31st and January 1st gains between 4 and 9 pounds. Okay, so what are we eating? Halloween, Thanksgiving, holiday parties. It's just an onslaught of junk and sugar and alcohol that we're giving our body, and then our gut bacteria suffer. And because of that, that leads to interference, especially in the immune system. So the principle is this: your body knows how to work and knows what to do. The saying is, God needs no help, just no interference. You can see this hand here on the screen. That's us getting in the way of the flow of good health in the body. We can't really help that flow. That's something that's God has created, that God has in there. It's an amazing thing. All we can do is get in the way with our actions. So typically those actions downstream lead to we'll kind of take it from the start of the domino effect of poor gut health, and that would be dysbiosis. Now, dysbiosis, what does that mean? So dysbiosis essentially is an imbalance of gut bacteria. It causes disruption of gut function. It's when you have too much of, again, the bad type of bacteria and not enough of the good type. And again, I use the analogy of the clean trash can and the dirty trash can. Basically, you have a dirty trash can, and the crows and the raccoons and the cockroaches and the maggots and all that stuff is piling up. And when they get overgrown, and there's so much, you're not going to feel good. Because bacteria, you go poop and pee, and that's called respiration, cellular respiration. Good stuff goes in, nutrition goes in, waste products come out. It's the same thing for bacteria. Food and nutrition goes in, and oxygen goes in, or carbon dioxide, depending on the type. And then waste products go out, whether that's carbon dioxide, whether that's oxygen, whether that's their own what we call organic acids. And when those organic acids start to creep up and up and up and up and up, that's called metabolic toxicity. And what can happen is that's going to then affect how you feel, how your gut functions, and can even influence, this is, I think, the craziest part, it also influences the type of foods that you crave. So when you have things like yeast and candida and these bacterial overgrowth, they can actually chemically interact with your nervous system and influence your choices in food. Isn't that crazy? So what do they like to eat? They love sugar, alcohol, they love the breads and the grains. So they're going to tell you, it's like, hey, give us more of that. They're sending these chemical signals back to your nervous system, and they're interacting with one another. There's some people, obviously, I'd be more on, I guess you would say, a creationist. Like, I believe that God is sovereign. He created the universe. He created us for a purpose. But there's some on like the evolutionary side. I wouldn't even say evolutionary side. It's like the weird side, where they're saying that they believe that our bodies are just like a shell for the bacteria. Why do they say that? Because they don't know for sure, but between 10 to 100 times more bacteria, like outside organisms and species inside your body, than there are you. So their thought process is that they're the ones controlling our body. So I don't believe that. I don't think they're controlling our body. We control our body. We have a soul, but we can be influenced by these bacteria. Okay, so we want to use our brain, we want to use our cognition, and not be driven completely by our feelings all the time and our emotions, because our feelings and emotions can be influenced by our gut bacteria. So essentially, the microbiota or the microbiome, it can become a prognostic biomarker for cancer, for diverticulitis, for inflammation. Basically, is that when you have dysbiosis, you're putting yourself in the statistical group, that you're moving yourself closer towards sickness, towards disease process. And one example of this study that was done a few years ago in 2015 was showing that gut dysbiosis is linked to hypertension. And why is that? Well, there's different reasons, but one of the main ones is when your gut is off, it's the number one consumer of energy in your body. Basically, like you eat a big meal, Thanksgiving dinner, your gut demands a high flow of blood to process all that food. And so you're going to lose energy because your body diverts energy away from every other part of your body and to the gut. And so when your gut is not functioning well, you're going to lose energy automatically. And that can lead to a stress response, or what we call a sympathetic response, which means things like cortisol, which is your stress hormone, is going to go up. And with cortisol going up and serotonin going down, that means that your hypertension or your blood pressure is also going to go up as well. So the allopathic approach, or the medical approach, is that they're going to bomb the city to try to get rid of the weeds. So think of it like, it's kind of a crude example, but I'll use this because this was used on the documentary recently that I was watching on the gut. In Vietnam, they used napalm to bomb the Viet Cong soldiers. It's very nasty, like horrible thing to do to someone, right? But that's what they did. But there was obviously collateral damage with that. If they knew that the enemy was hiding out in a certain area, well, they would just carpet bomb, they would just napalm for acres and acres and square miles of area. So what would that destroy? They'd burn down the entire forest, they'd burn down crops, that would obviously kill civilians, there'd be tons of collateral damage. It's horrible, right? That's essentially what antibiotics are doing. So when you have digestive concerns, when people are dealing with the stomach pains and the diverticulitis and everything, the number one thing that immediately is antibiotics. And antibiotics, although they can save your life in a crisis, you're dealing with an infection, you know, you have a known issue, they need antibiotics. I'm not talking about that, but just the overall bombardment of our species with antibiotics. I mean, the collateral damage is catastrophic, especially when it's given at a young age. So research out of Canada recently showed that for children who were given antibiotics, even just one round of antibiotics before the age of 2, were over 50% more likely to be obese basically later on in life. So why is that? Okay, so let's talk about obesity for a second. Is that, and a lot of you, you're listening to this, it's like you're overweight or you're considered obese, you're eating the right foods and you're not losing weight. Why is that? It's because your gut's not functioning right. You're putting gas in the tank, good gas, you're running the car, the gas isn't being burned, the metabolism's off, your gut is not, pulling in those good nutrients. So what happens is your body thinks you're starving, but you're not. So the saying is, in America, we're overfed and undernourished. We're overfed and undernourished. Now, the common thread was, and I would always talk about this, is that, okay, we're overfed. We're eating high calorie, high energy, the Western diet. We're eating those dense foods. They don't have enough nourishment in them. So that's why we're malnourished. And that is partly true. But then there's the other half here, is that some people, they're eating the good foods, they're eating the good stuff, but they're not absorbing it. So their body's also malnourished. So what happens is your body thinks that you're starving because you're not getting the micronutrients, you're not getting the right number of carbohydrates, you're not getting the right fats, you're not getting the right protein, you're not getting the right amount of B vitamins, as an example. So your body's not pulling that in. So it's like, uh-oh, I'm starving, eat more, eat more, eat more. That person blows up, they get big. They develop digestive concerns, dysbiosis. They go to the doctor, take this antibiotic, we're going to bomb the entire thing. Now, the thing with yeast and candida and these, unfavorable bacteria is they are scavengers. They are very good at surviving in hostile situations. They can survive when the gut is acidic, when the gut is full of drugs, when the gut is full of alcohol and bad foods. That's where the yeast, they love that environment. They can survive there. And in one sense, it's like, thank God for that. They're the scavengers. They're there to kind of clean up the mess, but you don't want them to be long-term, because that's going to lead, again, to bigger problems later on down the road. So one example here is like, we've all heard of H. pylori. A lot of these bacteria, they get a bad rap. You hear of H. pylori, most people think, what's H. pylori? Well, H. pylori infection or ulcers. So many times when they look at an ulcer, they swab it and look at it and they're like, oh, there's all kinds of H. pylori around here. It's eating at the ulcer. Well, what they've done is they've taken H. pylori directly out of people's guts using things like bismuth, which again, Pepto-Bismol is an example. It's something that contains bismuth. And what's happened is that they found that that's led to microbiome issues where there has to be a balance. Kind of like in nature, sorry for too many analogies, this might be a long talk. But remember Yellowstone National Park, so out west, they eradicated wolves years ago, decades ago. They recently started reintroducing them. Why? Because when they took the wolves out, what happened? Well, the deer population exploded, the rabbit population exploded. That actually led to, because of more animals and more erosion and things like that, it led to erosion of the riverbanks, and it was destroying the entire climate. So when they reintroduced the wolves to the situation, the climate was able to heal. So everything's in this delicate balance. So even these bacteria that we commonly think of as bad, they actually serve a purpose in our body. Okay, so down the line, let's just say this person, the same person, they're not eating well. They were on antibiotics when they were a child. They were on antibiotics in their 20s, whatever happened. Maybe they had their appendix removed. That's going to then lead to inflammation. So inflammation is now known as the root cause of all disease and pain. So it can be responsible for health conditions such as irritable bowel syndrome. And then down the road, you're going to then lead to leaky gut. Okay, so inflammation, think of that like pain and swelling, like redness, more blood flow, more immune response. It's like your body's on high alert. It's like if you hit your knee with a hammer or hit your thumb with a hammer, it gets very sore, it gets swollen, it gets red. And that's what inflammation is. It's in and of itself a good thing because it's there to heal the body. It's the healing response of the body. We don't just want to get rid of inflammation. We want to find out what's causing the inflammation. But if that's going on in your gut for a very long time due to the food that you're eating, that's going to lead to what's called leaky gut. So inside our gut, listen to this, we have an intestinal lining covering 4,000 square feet of surface area. I believe that's more than a couple tennis courts. When it works properly, it acts as a barrier that controls what's absorbed in the bloodstream. But in an unhealthy gut lining, they're called tight junctions, or basically the amount of space where those nutrients can go in and out, those get bigger, hence the term leaky gut. So larger particles can start to go through and your body, so that starts to go through and it's going into your liver or large unbroken down pieces of food or proteins and things like that. That goes into your bloodstream where your body is not used to seeing that. That's not supposed to be there. So it creates what's called an autoimmune response or an immune response. And again, we hear the term autoimmune and we think, oh, the body's being dumb. It's not doing the right thing. No, it's doing exactly the right thing because we've damaged our gut. These large particles of protein start to go through. The body's like, what's going on here? We need to get rid of that. The immune system sets off. You're going to feel exhausted. You're going to feel sick. You're going to feel bloated. You're going to feel sore. You're going to feel achy. Those deposits, it has to go somewhere. The body's very smart again. So it sends a lot of these toxins, a lot of these undigested food particles out into areas like your fingers, your toes. So one of the most common examples that we all know of is gout. So gout, which usually affects the big toe, that is due to excess stores of nitrogen or purines that's not being digested properly, not being processed properly. So it's putting it out away from your critical organs. So again, how smart is your body that it knows to bring it away from there? So here's just some of the symptoms of this, of leaky gut or poor gut health. So what's that jingle? Upset stomach, diarrhea, Pepto-Bismol or something? Man, we're so indoctrinated. All these drug commercials. So upset stomach, changes in weight. You feel like, man, I'm losing weight. I'm doing great. Oh, I'm gaining weight. Sleep issues, fatigue, food sensitivities. This is a big one. All of a sudden, people, you've heard, maybe it's yourself. It's like all of a sudden I'm allergic to dairy. I can't have dairy. I can't eat cheese anymore. I can't eat bread anymore. I can't drink a beer anymore. I can't have this type of meat anymore. All of a sudden you become so sensitive to these things because of leaky gut. You have these larger holes in your gut. You're not going to be able to process these foods as well as you would like. So then when you have going down the line here, so years later, months later, however long it takes for this person, they have a leaky gut and they have inflammation that eventually is going to lead to disease process. Now you're looking at things like Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome, celiac disease. People get put on major medications, even like heavy duty ones like methotrexate, Humira is one. And what these basically do is sink down and essentially destroy the immune system, because what's happening is your immune system's responding. Okay, your immune system's responding and saying, there's all these food particles, there's all this toxicity coming in the body, the immune system's ramped up. So the medical world says, okay, the reason why you're dealing with all these problems is because your immune system ramped up. So let's take these medications to lower your immune system. You're like, well, that makes sense. We're going to lower the immune system. That's going to get rid of my eczema or my rashes on my face or my belly or on the inside of my thighs. That's going to get rid of my bowel issues. Well, if you ever watch these commercials, when they talk about all the side effects of the drugs, what do they say? Do not take if you're recently vaccinated, do not take if you have a history of tuberculosis, may cause cancer, may cause a fifth appendage, may cause all kinds of different problems. Because when you lower your immune system, you open the door to disease process. You open it wide open. You've just taken away the body's defenses. And it's this crazy cycle that I see people on all the time, is that because of their lifestyle, they've literally injured their body. Their body's then trying to do the right thing by healing it. And what do? We blame the body. We say, you have an autoimmune disease. Your gut is not working right. Your immune system is confused. Your body's not confused. I guess the only way it could be confused, it's confused why we're giving it all this junk, right? So we got to get to the cause of the problem, because if this is not corrected, it's going to lead to very difficult to correct things like SIBO. And if you've heard of people like SIBO, it's debilitating. The pain, the discomfort, the bloating, just the sensitivity to food, just the constant waking up every day oh my gosh, how are my stools going to be today? So things like watery stools, their gut is always making noises all the time, flatulence, they can't have milk, they can't have any dairy, negative gas, they go to the doctor, everything, the tests are all messed up, and poor response to therapies too, because they basically become antibiotic resistant. They basically become resistant to all these drugs because they've gone so far one way that they end up in this place where it's very difficult to come back from. And that's the question that everyone kind of asks now, is it possible to heal? Because the first part of this, talk has been kind of depressing going over all this stuff, but here's the hope and here's the promise, is that your body is designed to heal itself. It's designed to heal itself. It's an amazing healing power in your body. And the good news about the gut is that an individual gut cell lives for a short period of time, on average about, let's just say 14 days. It can live longer in different areas, but about 14 days, the external, the interface cells that are facing basically the environment where the food is coming through along the tube of the intestine, those live for a short amount of time. So the good news with that is that once you start feeding your body good foods, you start doing what you need to do, which we'll talk about here shortly, your gut can actually turn around rather quickly within just a few months. So that's the good news. So right away, it's like, before we talk about the do's and don'ts here, I want to talk about what health really is. So many of us, we're looking at 0% health, you're dead, right? 100% health, vibrant. And you can read here the optimal health. You can read all these kind of things. I love this slide. If you want to take a picture of it, would be a good time to take this, put it up on your fridge or something. Many of us fall in this comfort zone, 4, 5, 6. If I had, oh my gosh, $1 every time someone came in, especially men, just to pick on us guys, think of typically it's a wife who comes in, she's looking for health, her husband's sitting there, and I get something like, I'm just here to support her. I feel fine. And when in reality, they're not really feeling that great. They have inconsistent health habits. They're on medication. They're on Crestor, Lipitor, Zocor, Simvastatin, Metformin, aspirin a day. They're on all these medications. Health is not really a high priority. But because they don't really have any active symptoms, because they're not feeling that bad, they assume that means that they're in good health. But really, they're only working at about 50, 60%. So that's the good part, and kind of the blessing and the curse is, the blessing is that your body can still bear up and function, even if it's only going at about 50, 60%. That's why we call our office, our whole network is called Max Living, is that we want to move towards 100% vitality. So not just feeling good, but feeling great. I did a podcast recently, and I said that good is the enemy of great. Many of us settle for pretty good. I eat pretty good. No, I'm doing good with my workout plan. I'm doing pretty good with my, my prayer time. I'm doing pretty good with detoxing. I follow that pretty well. Okay, well, let's move to great. Let's move to the next level, because there always is a next level, and realize that we can all, and we all know this on, monthly basis, weekly basis, yearly basis, we're going up and down this spectrum all the time. But the goal is that the thought is that this is a journey, not a destination. We want to be hanging out in the 8, 9, 10 zone for as long as we can so that we can achieve optimal health. And the big one here, I love it. It says, you have great health habits, which we'll talk about, taking responsibility for health outcomes, not blaming it on your genes, not blaming it on mom and dad, not blaming it on the government, not blaming it on big food companies, and then a strong health philosophy. Again, the philosophy that we're talking about is that your body is designed to heal itself. We just need to give the body what it needs. And this is where the 5 essentials of health come in. Now, I realize these look like PlayStation symbols, but this one, this represents chiropractic, kind of looks like a spine. Chiropractic, proper nutrition, mindset, oxygen and exercise, and then minimizing toxins. And when you bring these all together, that's where healing comes, is by giving basically your body the climate to move from the dirty trash can to the clean trash can. So 3 steps here that we're going to take tonight is 1, identify the causes, address the interference, and restore vitality. So getting to the cause of the issue, getting to the what's in the way of your body healing itself, and then restoring vitality or moving up the ladder towards true max living. And I'll go through this rather quickly. Many of us should know this already. These are the top 5 foods to avoid for your gut. So 1 is sugar and artificial sweeteners. Now, this is obvious: candies, food dyes, these little gummy things like this. These are very difficult to digest. They're man-made. They're made by, I say, the science. Artificial sweeteners induce glucose intolerance by altering the gut microbiota. So the original thought with artificial sweeteners is, oh, they just go, my chair is starting to shrink on me. They just go in your body. It tastes sweet, but your body doesn't process it, so it just goes right out through. Meanwhile, on the way through, it actually, because your body can't process it, it damages your gut microbiome. It damages the gut bacteria, and it injures them. And many of these artificial sweeteners, the pink packs, the blue packs, the yellow packs, I'm not going to name brand names. I was told not to do that. They can damage the microbiome, inflammation, leaky gut, and you go down that chain. Gluten. Now, gluten gets a bad rap. Gluten, I believe, is a red herring. A red herring means like, oh, look over here, this is the problem. Meanwhile, the real problem is actually over here. It's the food that contains gluten. Just in general, we should be avoiding anyways. So much pasta, so much bread, so much cookies, grain-based desserts. Now, gluten, think of it like glue. It's a basically chain of proteins that gives that kind of doughy, fluffy consistency to food. It also increases shelf life. So it's wonderful for food manufacturers to increase their shelf life, but it's very difficult to digest for many people. And again, if you have leaky gut, what's going to happen is that those gluten products or those proteins can then go right through the gut, enter your blood supply, enter your liver, and that's going to lead to that autoimmune response and also lead to autoimmune issues like gluten sensitivity or even gluten intolerance, because your body sees the gluten as not a food anymore, but more like a foreign invader, so it's going to react. That's why some people, like for me, for example, if I drink like a beer that has a bunch of gluten in it, or I'm eating bread and stuff like that, I'm not going to feel that great. I'm going to feel like junk. And it's because, long story short, I had gut issues in the past. I've had my appendix removed, different things going on, and my body and gluten just don't mix. So I just stay away from it. Some people can have this stuff and that's fine. But you got to kind of know where you're at there. I believe it's like over 50-60% of people are gluten sensitive. Here's another big one. And this is one where I'm kind of hanging out here. I got to stay away from the gluten. Dr. Krista, eating any type of conventional meat for her is a big, big no-no. So, I mean, for any of us, it's not good, but she just really reacts to just meat that's like, I don't know, you go out to eat somewhere and you're just eating whatever chicken they have or whatever beef they have. Her body just doesn't do well with that, with the oils and what it's cooked in and things like that. So when you start to change your diet, this is the first thing you have to change. When you start to change how you're eating, you got to change your meats from conventional to more organic. So that would be like organic chicken, pasture raised if possible. wild-caught fish, wild-caught salmon, cod, halibut, grass-fed beef, cows, chickens. They're meant to eat the types of food that they're meant to eat. They're not meant to eat a bunch of grains and corn and things like that. If you're eating a sick animal, you will become sick yourself. What's the other slogan? How do you make a cow real big, real fast? Feed them grains. How do you make a human real big, real fast? Feed them a bunch of grains. Also, the antibiotic load is higher in these types of animals. They're more sick. They're more prone to disease process. So we don't want to pass that on. So you can eat meat. We are designed to eat meat. And it is good for you, but you got to get the right kind. Now, here's the other thing. Going out to eat, make sure that you choose restaurants where you're at the very minimum getting these right kinds of meats. Well, that kind of narrows it down, doesn't it? So where do we go to eat? This is one of the most common questions. Harvest Seasonal Grill in Lancaster. They're also in Harrisburg. Rooster Street Butcher, which is in Lidditz, and several of the restaurants in the Lidditz area also serve their meats as well, grass-fed beef as an example. Core Life Eatery in Lancaster has antibiotic-free chicken. You know, it's not perfect, but it's, again, a step up. Where else do we go? Good Life Organics, which is in Lancaster as well. That's another good spot too. And, you know, if I think of more, I'll come back to it. All right, damaged fats. So this is going to be, again, food made by man. So things like margarine, vegetable oils, canola oil, these are the obvious ones, very toxic to the gut. You're going to foster growth of those bad bacteria. And then it's also not good for your omega-3 balance in your body. Your body basically needs to have the right types of omega fatty acids. They're essential for so many different cellular functions. And if you don't have that, that's going to lead to inflammation directly. All right, alcohol. I'm about to see the participant number go down here. This is very important. Alcohol, if you look at like liquors, rum, vodka, what are they made from? They're made from sugar, right? They're made from cane sugar plants and things like that. So in general, alcohol's, it's poison. It's not good for you. Now, yes, I know that red wine, you know, sulfite-free red wine, organic, good for you, polyphenols and things like that. Like I get that on, you know, within moderation. Listen, we all like to go out and have a drink and have a good time. Keep it within moderation. Just realize that you are injuring your gut when you drink this stuff, but there are better, cleaner brands out there that you can get. And if you want, you know, those types of brands, I can answer those questions at the end. All right, so let's move into the gut health diet, the Max Living Nutrition Plans. First one, and I'm really going to focus on this more, the core foundation of this. So the three principles, but then I'm really going to talk about the core plan. We talk a lot about the advanced plan, which is really used to like lose weight quickly, heal your body. But I wanted to talk more about making this a habit and moving more into the core plan for all of us too. So the biggest thing, again, eat food by God, avoid food by the science, skip the sugar and alternatives, and then count the toxicants, not the calories. So you don't have to worry much about the calories. You got to worry about the toxic load that's going into the food. So the core plan is eating many healthy fats. You can have dairy, full fat dairy. So you're not going for the skim milks and things like that. Naturally raised animal proteins, as you talked about, whole grains and ancient grains. So this would be things like Ezekiel bread, as an example, amaranth, lentils, also wild rice, quinoa is a big one. So you can have those carbohydrates, because carbs, yes, carbohydrates, you can live without them, right? You can still eat carbs, but you want to eat the right types of carbs. So this is like your maintenance plan. This is your everyday plan, is the core plan. A variety of fruits and vegetables, plant-based carbohydrates. So veggies, basically. So you're eating your meats, you're eating your veggies, maybe a sweet potato on the side, wild rice on the side, quinoa, things like that. All right. So it's not that difficult. This is you enjoy this because you're eating quality foods. All right. So where you want to focus on, though, starting from left to right, getting the right amount of protein. So you see this as an example of like a protein powder, like a whey protein. I prefer bone broth protein. Your vegetables, broccoli is just so good for you. Did you know that broccoli and spinach are the only two food sources that naturally contain CoQ10? CoQ10 is critical for antioxidation, also for energy production in your body. So spinach and broccoli are great. Nuts, seeds, legumes are good. Berries, anything that ends in berry is very good for you. They're excellent for your gut health because it has those simple sugar, but they're a little more complex that your body's not going to break them down too fast, but it's just very good. It acts as a good prebiotic. And then avocados or good fats are excellent as well. So the advanced plan, you're doing the same as the core plan, but here's a big one, no grains at all. Like you cut out no quinoa, no wild rice, no sweet potatoes. Like it's pretty much just eating vegetables and meats. And then only low sugar fruits and berries like the berries, Granny Smith apples, and grapefruit. And for people, it's like, which one do I choose? This is good for a short amount of time. I don't believe that, some people can do this forever, God bless them. I don't believe it's sustainable for the long haul. We do this typically as a challenge, like a 28-day challenge, thing like that. So have it right here. If you want to do the advanced plan, you're like, what does that look like? What do you need? Text our office. The number that you get your appointment reminders on. Just text the word resources to the office or just say, hey, I want the 28-day challenge. We have the grocery list there, what to eat on what days. You can mix and match how you want, the recipes. I love the grocery list because it tells you not just what to buy, but the exact quantities of what to buy. So you're getting those exact quantities for the week. And if you want to do this, it's a 4-week challenge where you'll go through the advanced plan. All right, so now that's the food. We want to go into the 3 R's of gut healing. So number 1 is remove. You want to be removing the yeast, the candida, attacking things like SIBO, but you want to do it in a smart way. And right now, I want to talk about metabolics, just how important this is that you cannot guess with this stuff. You have to test it. Now, there's 2 main tests that we talk about. The main one is what we call the metabolomics test. The metabolomics test, metabolomics metabolism, that's for people you're dealing with energy issues, sleep issues, deficiencies in minerals. Like you're just not getting, you feel like you're eating food, you're having trouble losing weight, you don't have any energy. It's like you're dealing with anxiety, brain issues. It's like, what's going on here? Now, test number 2 is what we call the GI effects test. So this is you're basically sending in your stool to a lab, and it's going to be testing how well you're digesting your food, inflammatory markers, whether or not there's dysbiosis, metabolite imbalance, so where you're at with like your good bacteria, bad bacteria, and then whether there's infection, worms, parasites, viruses, bad bacteria, things like that. So this gives you a complete picture. It's called the GI effects test, and it's going to give us a readout and come back and give you very specific supplements and recommendations, the exact supplements to take, when to take them, whether or not to take them with food, the dosages. It's going to correct your deficiencies and imbalance. So it's going to save you time and money. There's no guesswork here. It's just perfectly set out. Now, here's the thing. If you're just starting out here, you're a new patient, you're just starting out with the advanced plan, you're just starting out with your nutrition, just kind of plug your ears from now. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to people where you feel like you're doing everything right. You're exercising, you're eating well. It's like, but I'm not losing weight. I'm still dealing with these digestive concerns. I'm not going to the bathroom normally. My stools are loose. Whatever is going on, like this will figure it out for you. So what I want you to do, if you're interested in this, I've created a short 20-minute video that goes through the metabolic process at our office, how we do it, how you get a test kit, how you send it in, how either myself or Haley sit down with you and go through your test results, and it's all laid out in this video. So pull out your phone and open the camera setting. This is called a QR code. And what you do is you put the camera, like you point the camera at that, don't take a picture, automatically a little link will pop up. You click on that and the YouTube video will be there. So I'll just leave this up for a second. So again, hold your phone over that with your camera. It's going to bring you to a YouTube video. Even if maybe you're not interested right now, you just want to start with the nutritional stuff we're going to do. You could at least save this in your playlist and watch it. It's only 20 minutes. It's a very simple process. All right, moving on. Repair. So we found out, okay, what's in there that we don't want to be in there. We want to remove that. Okay, now we want to repair the gut. It's like we've gotten out the bad guys. Now we want to go in there and fix these holes, the leaks, everything that's going on. One of the best things you can start with, very simple, is to take digestive enzymes. So we have two options. I'll start with Max GI. This is a supplement that's been around for years, probably over a decade now. I've been taking it for a long time. I take it every day. It contains probiotics, digestive enzymes, and essential oils. So the probiotics, that's helping to repopulate the gut. The digestive enzymes helps to break down the food that you're eating. And then the essential oils help to soothe the gut. So it contains thyme, clove, and oregano oil powder. And what those do, that's just going to help to soothe your gut. And it really helps, like if you're dealing with reflux, heartburn, digestive issues, like you feel like you're really bloated after a meal, take Max GI in the morning on an empty stomach. Wonderful for your gut. Now, number two, this is more of a heavy hitter, a little more specific. And you can take it. I would caution people, if you're considering taking the digestive enzyme, I would move you more into the metabolics. Like I would urge you to get tested before taking it, because this is for people whose digestive enzymes have become depleted, where they're having a hard time keeping up with the barrage of toxicity going on in their body or malabsorption. This is where you're actually taking one or two before each meal, and it helps your body to digest. And just having rolled these out over the last couple months, my goodness, the results coming back from people are wonderful. People have noticed like they're not getting bloated after a meal anymore. Their bowel movements are normal. They're going to the bathroom every day. Their bowel movements aren't loose. Like they're just noticing huge differences by taking these digestive enzymes or Max GI. So again, any supplement that we talk about, when you listen to this talk, when you come to the office, just mention that you heard this on the talk that we did, even if you're watching on YouTube later. And just mention that and you'll get 10% off any of these supplements after this talk. Okay, another one that's really good, this is brand new as well, the Daily Essentials. So this is a box, and it contains the men's or women's multivitamin, B complex, optimal omega, which is your fish oil. It also contains magnesium glycinate and vitamin D. Normally, when you get those 5 supplements, I believe it's like $120 some or something like that. And you can pick these up for $80. And that can seem like a lot of money, but if you actually went to your supplement drawer and added all these things up that you're taking, it adds up very quickly. I realize that supplements aren't cheap, but it's a lot less expensive than having a disease process or SIBO or leaky gut and things like that. And what this is going to do is this just is giving you the basics for your body. So you're combining, again, it's your multivitamin. You're getting your minerals in there. You're getting your good B vitamins in there. You're getting things like folate and iron in there. Obviously your B complex, your B12, your B6, hugely important. Your omegas, so it's going to help with your inflammation, your vitamin D, which is so important this time of year, and then magnesium. Magnesium is so crucial to your nerve system health and also for sleep too. So you bundle it all in one. Like I said, if you're interested in this, take advantage, because you do get, again, listening to this talk, you get 10% off. So it's a great deal for that. All right. So this is just a quick study on omega-3 therapy. And I just want to read a little bit about this, is that basically when you alter your omega-3 ratios in your body, that can lead to downward effects such as diabetes, such as dietary issues, not being able to lose weight. Basically, what they're showing now is that when you're taking the right amount of omega-3 supplements, you're going to basically remove yourself from a lot of different statistics there. Okay, the last of the 3 R's is to re-inoculate, where you're going to be getting back in the good bacteria and the good guys back into your body. Probiotics are huge. Now, there's some more conflicting studies. It's like the more we do this kind of thing, it's like maybe we do need to add probiotics, maybe we don't, all these different stuff. Ultimately, it comes down to this, is that you want this primarily to be coming through your food, So when you're eating good probiotic-rich foods, when you're eating raw foods in your salads and fermented foods like kimchi or kombucha, sauerkraut, when you're getting those good probiotics in, it's just going to help you. So again, type 2 diabetes linked to taking probiotics to reduce it. It's wonderful. Prebiotics. Now, some of you are going to smile at this. I'm going to get the participant number to go back up again. More and more we're learning, because we're always pretty stringent and push people away from eating carbohydrates. But when you do eat the right types of healthy carbohydrates, this would be an example of eating the core plan. You're going to be giving your body what's called prebiotics. Prebiotics are the food for the good bacteria, or the probiotics. So what you want to do is, not only do you want to, because like, here's the thing, someone goes and they just like, oh, they eat McDonald's, they eat junk, they're doing all this bad stuff, but I took my probiotic that day, I'm good. Well, that probiotic's not going to survive because it doesn't have the food. If you're giving the food for the candida and the yeast, and you're giving that sugar and the grains and stuff, and you're not feeding the probiotics, they're going to die off. So we not only want to take the probiotics, but we want to eat these good, right types of carbohydrates. So some of you are going to start smiling here. So oatmeal, I know I used to go at oatmeal all the time. So if you're looking to lose weight, you're like really having trouble, your metabolism's off, you don't want to be slamming down oatmeal every single day, but oatmeal does break down into, a slow burning kind of carbohydrate that can help to feed bacteria. Here's my favorite, dark chocolate. You want to go over 70%, onions, garlic, cruciferous vegetables, root vegetables, bananas. What is this? A plum or something? Honey, maple syrup. These are all good things that are, again, good prebiotics for the probiotics. If you're having any trouble with digestion, I can't stress enough the importance of exercise. I know for me personally, like, I don't want to get too much information here, but I used to be into like heavier weightlifting. I've shifted back into more the max T3, like cross training stuff. But when I was doing personal training for about 5 years, I got into deadlifting, and it's a lot of fun. Deadlifting, like, you can watch your progress week to week. But man, when you start lifting heavy weights, you start moving your body like that, you're moving to the bathroom pretty quickly. It's a good thing. You're moving things out. So your gut, your body needs proper blood flow. The blood needs to pump throughout your body, get things moving, water intake, sweating, getting your body moving is going to help you digesting. If you're dealing with any type of constipation, get your body moving. It's going to help things move through mechanically. Common excuses. I love this picture. This lady, it's like these models. It's like, you're going to be in the stock photo. We're going to put this pizza box and a phone over you. It's funny. All right, so I don't know where to start. Gyms are expensive. It's too difficult. I don't feel it. I don't feel like it. I feel like this is the most honest one, because come on, honestly, we have like an at-home gym now, and I walk down in the basement. 9 times out of 10, I don't feel like I want to work out. But again, you don't want to base your health on how you feel. You want to base it on the strong philosophy, moving towards vitality. So you got to just do it anyways, because it's going to help. So again, pull out your phone. I'm going to scan this QR code. Many of you already have access to this. All of you should have been given a Max T3 code. I'm assuming a lot of you haven't gotten it yet. So Max T3, you're working out, it's just 12 to 16 minutes a day. 12 to 16 minutes a day. So anyone can just find that time. It's like before you get your shower in the morning, go work out. In the afternoon, at night, whenever you have that spare time, just do it, and you'll do it. And it's guided exercise. You follow along on your phone. So again, scan the QR code. It's going to bring you to maxt3.com. You can punch in. You were all given a, if you're a patient, you were given a bookmark way back when that has a specific login code, and you just put in, I have an access code, type that in, create a login. If you don't have that, next time you're at the office or text us, we'll get you a password or a new login code. Okay, moving on. Toxins in the gut. this is really important. So herbicides or herbicides like glyphosate, which is known as Roundup. So Roundup kills weeds, right? It kills grass, kills everything. One of the ways in which it does it is it not only just kills the grass, but it destroys the soil. It kills all of the good bacteria in the soil. This is the problem with modern farming. They actually want to use, there's what's called regenerative farming. And this is huge. It's going to be the next big buzzword. You know, everything's like gluten-free, nut-free, you know, dairy-free. And the next big buzzword that you're going to start seeing on the food packages is going to be regenerative farming friendly or made from regenerative farms. And what they use is much like the gut, is they infuse probiotics and make sure that they have the right amount of critters within the soil to help that plant grow naturally, that they don't have to use herbicides and pesticides, because those critters, just like in your gut, are doing the job of those pesticides, but in an obviously much more natural and non-toxic way. So Roundup, which is sprayed on especially corn and soy and put into feedstock and fed into animals, that gets into your body. So if you're eating conventional cereals, conventional breads, corns, things like that, you're going to be eating Roundup. Roundup goes in your body. It's going to kill your bacteria. It's going to mess up your microbiome. So that's an example of toxicity getting into your gut. BPA, that's commonly plastics, basically. So you want to get rid of using plastic water bottles. Those are a big no-no. The leaches into the water. It's very acidic. Go for BPA-free plastics, but I would go even better. Go for glassware, Pyrex, bamboo. Getting rid of the plastics in your house is critical, especially where you store your food, like Tupperware. People are they put their food in Tupperware, stick it in the microwave, which again, throw out your microwave. I could do a whole 3-hour talk on getting rid of your microwave, but we won't get into that today. People throw that in the microwave and then, you know, where does it go? Where does that plastic go? It starts to leach into your food. Heavy metals. So again, these metabolics tests that we're talking about, if you want to watch that video, we actually test for heavy metal toxicity, like mercury, like lead, cadmium, thallium, all these things that can come from the water supply or living near a farm or being exposed to it somewhere along the line, even through medications or different types of medical procedures, that can have a negative impact as well. So you want to get those tested if you know that's the case. A great place to start is green leafy vegetables. Juicing is an excellent thing to do to, you know, pump up or get rid of the toxins, to bind the toxins out of your body. We also have a detox system at the office. So this is a 30-day supply. This is not something you have to do all the time. This can be done. I do it typically 2 to 3 times per year. So in the morning, there's the cell detox. At night, there's the body detox. So in the morning, you're taking things like glycine, antioxidants, also probiotics, and then and milk thistle. It acts like a little scrub brush to get the toxins out of your body. And then at nighttime, it's activated charcoal, psyllium husk fiber, and magnesium oxide, and that helps to flush those toxins that are now in the body out of the body. So people notice changes in cognition, in mood, also better stool formation, and more motility in their bowels. It's not a laxative. It's very gentle. Anyone can use it, even if you're on medication. It's a great system to get. And again, 10% off if you listen to this talk. All right, let's go back to the brain. Let's talk about stress. Whew, man, people are under stress, a lot of stress. I gave like 4 or 5 hugs today. Prayed for a few people today. It was good. It was a good day. But I do see that people are dealing with a lot of stress. We deal with stress. There's positive stress. There's negative stress. We have a new baby coming, which is exciting. That's a stressor, though. There's things that we need to prepare for, that my wife needs to prepare for and tell me to do, right? I should switch that if she's watching this. There's a lot more planning that needs to be done. So it's how you perceive it. So stress, it's going to be there, but it's how you perceive it. And listen, I'm a weak man. There are times where I do not perceive stress well, or there are times where I feel anxiety or anger, I feel overwhelmed. We're all there. We are not perfect, but we got to take steps to deal with the stresses in our life. So as an example, as we're approaching the baby coming, we've been really focusing on simplifying life, not scheduling too much, kind of just, let's just do the basics. Let's love on our patients, love on our kids. Let's go home. Let's not plan too much stuff. Let's just take it easy. But we do have a few projects that have to get done at the house, removing some wallpaper, putting up wallpaper, a little bit of painting. I'm not doing this stuff. We hire professionals for this. So I'm at the office on Monday. At the time of recording this is Wednesday. And I get a text from the guy at our house. His name's Barry. He's pulling off the wallpaper. He's like, there's a string of texts and I only see the last text. And the text says, could be or definitely an emergency. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is the house on fire? So I open up my phone and I look through and he's telling me that as he was pulling off the old wallpaper, part of the drywall came off and there's a big beehive, a yellow jacket hive right behind the wall. And there's yellow jackets all over the house. So he gets stung twice. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this a liability? Like he's such a cool guy. He's so relaxed. He was fine. But I'm getting this text like the house is full of yellow jackets. There's dozens of them. There's hundreds of them. They're all over the place. So I'm trying to figure out what to do. I'm calling around. There's such a labor shortage. All the exterminators are like, no, we're busy. The soonest is next week. The soonest is Saturday. We got to get this fixed now. So I'm like, okay, let's get the kids home. Let's get them to sleep. Let's get them upstairs. Let's just try to stay calm, try to fix the problem, but not get too overwhelmed. So then I'm like, okay, at nighttime, I get done at the office. Krista texts me. She's like, I'm at my mom's with the boys. You got to figure this out, basically. You got to treat the hive. So I get like the most non-toxic. It was like an isopropyl alcohol based spray. I waited till nighttime till the bees are more relaxed. I spray. They just start coming out like hundreds of them. And they hit at you hard. Like I had the hoodie on, I'm all covered up. Boom, boom, boom. They're hitting me. I'm running away, screaming like a girl running out of the house. So this is I come back in and this picture does not do it justice at all. But you can see here all the dead bees all over the table, all over the new fan that we're buying there. Nice table, right? You see the ladder that we had, and the hive was up here, up at this top part. You can kind of see where the paint is pulled back, and there's just hundreds of bees all over the place. And again, I should have took more pictures because in the hallway, the next room over, the hallway is just strewn with bees. So I spend the next 2 hours cleaning up all the bees, mopping the floors, vacuuming them all up, taking out, because he had laid down all these different mats and protectors and stuff from the paint. So I'm taking those all outside, shaking them down, getting rid of all the bees, vacuuming them up, mopping up all the leftover insecticide. You see, I added this light there to attract the bees to go there. So when I turn off the light, so it's this ordeal, and I've already put in a 10-hour day at the office. So my anxiety level, my stress level is, it's up here. We've all been there. My plate is full. The cup is overflowing, but not in the good way. So what's the mantra? What do we do here? So here's some gut healthy peace management and things that I start to do. 1, control what you can. I cannot control that there's bees in the house. I have to deal with it. Many times it's my own reflex to want to run away from the stress, run away from the situation. Well, if I just don't go home, I won't see the bees. Or can't someone else do it? Can't someone else deal with these problems? Can't someone else deal with these kids? Can't someone else deal with this husband or wife? Can't someone else? Can't someone else? No, God chose you to be in the specific situation that you're in. God chose you to bear the burden that you're in. So we have to take responsibility, take control of the situation. Number 2, this is really important, carving out you time, not once a year for vacation, not twice a year, every week. Find a time. Maybe it's only 10 minutes. Maybe you only have 5 minutes. Maybe you're a mom with kids and things are going crazy. Find a time that you can, sit out on the deck and have, lay in the sun, eat some dark chocolate, have a coffee, go out with a friend, make a phone call, watch a TV show, do something for you that's important. For me, I love exercise. I do love to work out. It's important for me, I get like a bi-weekly coaching call with the pastor. He's my life coach. And one of the questions, he always asks me what's going on, and I fill him in on everything, all my do's of the week. Here's what I did, do. And he's like, Greg, what have you done for yourself this week? Nothing yet. What can you do? I could go golfing, quick 9 holes or something like that. I could go to the shooting range. I could go work out. I could go play hockey. There's things that you have to do for yourself. It's different for everybody. So find what's good for you and plan it in your week. And that's number 3, is planning for peace. You know, be prepared for war. Be prepared that there might be bees in your house. There might be stuff going on. That's life. But planning for peace is setting your schedule out to give yourself those breaks throughout the week to open up some margin, not just piling everything in there. Now, again, there's seasons for everything. There's busy times coming up for people, but we want to plan for peace as much as we can. And number 4, make it a habit. It's just what you do. Eating healthy is just what you do. Not drinking that alcohol is just what I do. Choosing to exercise is just what I do. And that's one thing that people ask us. It's like, how do you pull this off? How do you eat? How do you do this? And the planning, it's just what I do. It's just what I do. When I go out to eat, I choose a restaurant. Like we go to a different city or we go out for the night, I choose restaurants that have healthy meats. It's just what I do. And I'm not going to choose one that doesn't. If I go out for a couple drinks, I'm going to choose alcohol that's like gluten-free or has, you know, the least number of toxins as possible, because it's just what I do. So you have to have those just what you do's in your life. And again, going back, like you have your digestive tract, you know, many people have gone to the doctor, they get an ultrasound of the digestive tract, they're like, oh, it's fine. But functionally, it's not fine. We talk about the spine and your nervous system. Structurally, many times, people go get this just happened today. I'll give you an example. I had a lady come in. She was a new patient, was dealing with severe neck pain. Now, I mentioned we're going to do some testing. We're going to take x-rays, figure out what's going on. Oh, I already had x-rays. What did they say? I already knew what she was going to say. The doctor said, my neck is fine. And here's what I always say. Structurally, your neck is fine. It's not broken. It's not completely degenerated. There's not slipped discs. There's not blown discs at this point. But functionally, it's not fine. So for example, you look at this picture, it shows a neck that's clearly like, here's the chin here, the front of the neck here. This person's facing this way. Their neck is actually reversed. It's going the opposite way. You can see bone spur formation. It's not good. Medically speaking, this neck would be considered okay. I'm not joking. They would say it's fine. Your neck is fine. There is mild reversal of the curve. There's some mild degeneration, but that's fine. This is normal. The reason they say it's normal is because there's not broken bones and there's not pathology. There's no cancer and there's no broken bones. They look at your gut and they say, hey, there's no cancer, there's no polyps. It's good. Well, why aren't I pooping, right? Why aren't I digesting my food? Why am I so overweight? Or why am I dealing with this neck pain? Why am I dealing with these headaches? So again, over here on the left side, you have your function. So what's the function of your nervous system? That's run by your brain-body connection. And that functionality travels through the structure, okay? So you have the structure of the food. You have this kind of inanimate object, this apple that you're eating, this meat that you're eating, and it goes into your living body and it's absorbed and it becomes your eyes 2 weeks later. It becomes your hair. It becomes your skin. There's an amazing power in your body. There's an amazing function that travels through that structure. So we have to correct both. It's not an and or. And some people get caught up with this because they'll think, oh, function, that's like physical therapy. Structure's like chiropractic. And people want to box it in. We need both. You need to do stretches, you need to do exercises, and you need to correct your structure. You need to eat the right kinds of foods. You need to get the right probiotics and prebiotics. And you need to make sure that the structure of your digestive system is correct. And you need to repair it, replenish it. Do you guys see what I'm getting at? It's like we want to do our best to encompass it. And that's what makes, I believe, us different than a lot of doctors, a lot of chiropractors, is that we're looking at structure and function and addressing all causes of the issues. So these are just some of the warning signs of your nervous system is out of alignment. So we talked about your gut, but remember, we cannot forget your spine. You cannot forget, you still have to do your home care exercises, your adjustments, whether you're coming on a wellness basis. Maybe you're coming more often right now. You're in your corrective plan. But I want you to look at this list and not just think of yourself, but think of the people around you. Think of the people around you dealing with headaches every day, dealing with back pain, not being able to go to work, calling off sick. Maybe it's that husband that might be, around the corner watching TV while you're listening to this. Maybe it's that wife who's upstairs doing something else while you're listening to this. Maybe it's your aunt, your uncle, whomever it is. Like, those people need help. They really do. Like, the blessing of being a chiropractor is that I get to see people get well every day, but kind of the hard part about it is I get to see the struggle that people deal with every single day. And sometimes it's hard to watch. And the chiropractor I used to work for, he always said to his patients, I can't care more about your health than you do. Right? I can't care more about your friends than you do. I can't care more about the people you go to church with than you do. Like, we want to help those people, even if they live somewhere else. So again, read through this list, see if it applies to you, family members, friends, reach out to us, how we can help. We also have a promotion going on. We come to the office. We have 50% off first exams for referrals. They just have to bring the little card with them that says 50% off initial exam and nerve scan and any additional x-rays. Normally it's $140. When they come in, they get it for just $70. So it's very simple. All right. Here's another step for you. Many of you have done this. We have what's called a lifestyle risk questionnaire. This is going to allow you to figure out where you're at with following the 5 essentials. This will give you a good objective measure. Basically gives you a number. The lower the number, the better. You want to be in the green. This is going to be giving you a number of where you're at with following all this. Because you're like, whoa, this was a lot of information. The exercise, the diet, the reparative stuff. Go ahead and text LRQ to our texting number, and we will send you a link to do this test. It takes about 5-10 minutes. You'll fill it out. We'll get a copy of it, print it out. We'll have it in your records, and it'll give you and us an idea basically where you're at, a snapshot of where you're at with following the 5 essentials and which areas you need to focus on, which areas you're doing well with and focus on. So it looks like this. The lower the scores, the better. You want to be moving under that vitality. So remember that chart showing the vitality, we're going to see where you're at along that gradient there. Okay, so as I close out the talk here, I just thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for listening. This will be available on YouTube. So if you want to rewatch it later, we'll also be playing it at the office. Remember, our purpose, Max Living, is to be the standard for natural health care where everyone is empowered to live life to their full potential. It's a wonderful vision and purpose that we have, and we want to share that with you, your friends, and your loved ones. So I hope that this empowers you to not only make changes for yourself, but to see those changes trickle on for generations, and that we can start to change the tide in healthcare, and we can see people living a life to their full potential, not depending on medications, not depending on these treatments, not just waiting for disease or waiting for sickness to take hold, but to actually live a life where they're feeling, functioning, and just doing great. So guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and we'll answer some questions here if you have any.